So this is my temporary workbench. As you can tell, it's been my workbench for a while. I'm gonna restring this Jackson up. This is my guitar with some 12s because I'm planning on tuning it down to C standard, and so that's what I'm gonna do. The guitar itself is not a lefty, it is a right-handed guitar with a reverse headstock, as you can tell. And I'm gonna string it up so that I can tune down to C. This is gonna be a little bit different than most stringing that you see because I'm not gonna have to wrap it because I use locking tuners, and also because the bridge itself is locked, so I have to, in order to set the intonation, I'm going to have to actually get an Allen wrench and adjust this manually, and I'll do that myself off camera. It's a pain. But I'm just going to show you how I string up the guitar and how I just do a basic cleanup on it. And it's pretty easy, it's pretty quick. I'm going to start off with just taking this off. A lot of people like to cut them off, I don't. I'm not a savage. So I'm just going to take this off here. You don't have to use a string winder. I do. Some guitarists actually suggest that you tune down a half step and then a half step and then a half step. You keep doing it until you finally reach what it is that you're trying to do, is get the strings to have enough slack so you can just take them off. And they say that that's a good idea to do because it releases some of the pressure on the neck slowly rather than having it go all at once. It depends. I haven't had any issues with it, but just because I haven't had any issues doesn't mean that there are none. Probably it's not perceivable for me, but you know, everybody has their own opinion. And quite frankly, I'm doing this on video, so whatever. I've had this guitar since I was a kid, so. And these are not the stock tuners that came with this guitar either. Okay, now here's something that is a little tricky for some people, and I'm going to show you something. Sometimes when you're trying to get these off, and I've seen people talk about this, on some of the cheaper guitars, on some of the cheaper bridges, you'll have issues getting out the smaller strings. I'm not having that issue because I guess I got lucky, or I don't know. But what you can do is, instead of punching through from the front, which I've seen, you can just stick this in there and you can just wiggle it out like that. And just do it like real gently. That's all you need to do. You don't need to like punch in through the other side like I've seen some people do. That actually kind of bothers me when I see it. But I'm just gonna take these strings out. Alright, so next step is gonna be cleaning this guitar. Now, something that I had people do as a kid is I knew people who would use alcohol to clean their fretboard. Don't do that. Just don't do it. Don't use alcohol to clean your fretboard. You will dry it out and you will mess it up. Don't do that. What I use is, well, it's a little dusty, but I use Dr. Duck's Axe Wax. It has no wax in it. See, it says contains no wax. Whatever. Anyways, I use this and I actually drop it on the guitar itself, and I just smear it around. What the hell? I just smear it around. This guitar isn't as dirty as some guitars that you'll see because I actually clean it just about every time that I change the strings, because I don't have to change them very often because I don't play, like I don't tour or anything. But yeah, you'll see like little gunk on the fret sometimes. You just gotta wipe it off. It comes off pretty easy on some guitars. Other guitars, it's a mess. If you're a particularly sweaty person, you'll have issues on the body, especially. I know some people, they go through strings like crazy because they sweat or they're really oily or whatever. And you know, that's not really my problem. And this stuff's also good for like lubricating their tuners if you have that issue or if you want to. It's really good for that. It's just good all around polish. You can use it on the front, you can use it on the fretboard, you can use it on tuners. You can use it on the pickups, I wouldn't suggest it. Even though I think it even says on the bottle you can use it on pickups. I don't know. But yeah, I just use it to clean my guitar. Alright, so part 1 done. We have cats, so it's a little dusty in here sometimes. We have cat hair randomly. So if you have cats, just be very much aware of your strings. Don't let your cat play with the strings like mine is trying to. But I'm not letting him get up here. Okay, next thing. Alright, so I've seen people talk about this many different ways. Can't never get it out that way. The first thing I'm going to do is I've seen people use like graphite on the nut, and I still have some here. It's not graphite that I have here, but I use this. A few years ago I was looking up ways to reduce friction and binding on the nut, and down here, as a result of using the bar, because I use a bar but I don't like Floyd Roses, so I learned about this stuff. Well, actually I already knew about this stuff because I had family who drove bikes, and I had friends who drove bikes, and I had some, and we used it on bikes mostly. And I was like, hey, I know what that is. It's Buzzy Slick Honey. Apparently, supposedly, some major guitarists, some big guitarists, use this stuff. And it's pretty easy the way that it works. You just put a little bit on the nut, very little bit on the nut, and a little bit also on the bridge. And the idea is to reduce binding. I'm gonna wipe off the excess. I have a habit of just slathering crap on everything. Like even when I solder, I throw flux all over the place. And I clean it off, but you know, I have a habit of using too much and then wiping off the excess. This does not rust, or else it wouldn't be used in some moving parts. It won't rust your strings, so if somebody tells you don't do that, it's gonna rust. No. You are misinformed there. The way this works is I'm just gonna do that. And now I'm gonna start putting on the strings. I usually start on the outside and then I work my way in. The reason why I would do the outside in is not because of any other reason other than the fact that when I first started putting strings on, I was doing it on acoustics that did not have a glued in nut. So the way that I would do it is that I would have to put in the low E and then the high E, and then I would start to actually string up the guitar the right way. But this is how I do it. I usually start at the high E and then I go to the low E, and there's no reason for it. Always make sure that your tuning machines, that the hole is lined up to go straight, because you want it to go in. And on this guitar I have screws in the bottom so I can lock in the string when I'm done. I used to have the mistake of also doing this where I wouldn't do that, where I wouldn't like pull the string all the way through and the little part would get stuck on. Alright, I just do that and then just tighten it. Remember, I don't have to wind this because I have a locking tuner. As a little note, when you put strings on, always make sure that your guitar is set up for those particular types of strings, like for that particular gauge. On my first guitar, my very first Strat that I ever played, It was a hammer Strat, and I have the neck for it. And it's actually the neck that I'm going to use. I can't remember who it was. I think it was my dad who put 12s on it. And oh my god, that neck bowed like crazy. It's probably why the body started splitting too, now that I think about it. But yeah, that guitar went bad. Camera stopped recording. I had to go get my phone anyways. I'm looking up the tuning real quick because I forget what it is. It's gonna be C, F, A sharp, so let's go to C. Okay, one crucial thing before I go. Always remember to cut your hair. Never leave your hair. This is a thing I see a lot of people not doing, and they're like, why is my guitar going out of tune? Even if you don't have a Floyd Rose, this is something you need to do. Stretch your strings. The reason why you stretch them is because the reason why you do this is because it gets them hot. You just gotta get them hot enough to where they heat up a little bit. And then they stretch just a very little bit. This reduces string breakage. You don't have to do it along the whole string. I just do it along this. This reduces string breakage. It also helps to keep your guitar in tune when you're bending and you're doing a lot of stuff. Some say it increases the life of it, but I think that's BS. Who knows? But this is something that you have to do. Just do it. It takes nothing to do. It's really easy, and there you go. And then you just retune. Everything should be flat. If not, then you know I think you're lucky. Okay, and that's it. You're tuned. Up next is the intonation, but I'll do that off camera because it's gonna take a while. And so when I post this video, hopefully you'll have a little bit more knowledge about how to string up your guitar. It's really simple. This is the easiest thing to do. But if you're just learning, it takes a little bit of time to figure out. I think the hardest thing when learning is learning how to tune your guitar. A lot of people don't know how to do that, and that's okay. There's tuners. You can learn how to do there first, and then slowly learn over time how to do it correctly. So yeah, that's it for today. Thanks for watching, and see ya.